Hi, it's Laura at Aquamarine 18 Tarot and Books. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. Welcome or welcome back. This is another installment of Top Tarot Trumps, AVR to Musings by Masha. And in this series, we are going through and sharing our favorite depictions of each of the major arcana cards, going from the Fool all the way through to the World. And I said in my first video where I shared the Fool cards that I love that I would stick to 5. And now we're at the Magician, and I'm going to share 6. So I have 5 Magician cards to share with you, plus I'm going to put another Magician card on the screen from a deck that I don't own and probably will never own unless it's reprinted, but that I love and that I wanted to include, even though it's not in my collection. So a little bit cheating from my own rules, but there you go. These are not in any order of like order of preference or anything like that, just the order that I happened to put them in before I started filming. So, favorite tarot magicians. The first one that I want to share is a Marseille magician, and that one is The Conjurer from the Marseille Prendre Vie by Auntie Kay's Tarot. This is a modern, diverse Marseille deck. And I really like, just overall this deck for the way that it maintains faithfulness to traditional Marseille depictions in terms of kind of how people are standing and the different items that are included in the image, but is also, looks much more like the world actually looks, right? Is a contemporary and diverse deck. And this conjurer is described in the guidebook, which is online on Auntie Kay's website. The conjurer is described as a proprietor of the shop that is behind the figure in this card. And you can see here all of those items on the conjurer's table, familiar things that we would expect to see with the magician there. And I like this for a number of reasons. I like that in this one, the magician is depicted, to me anyway, as older. I feel like that speaks to a kind of experience and skill in, traditions of magical working that, is built up over a lifetime. So I like that the magician is an older figure. And I like the idea of the magician as a proprietor of a shop, that you might go into a shop that has various kinds of magical supplies and, engage with someone who is very knowledgeable and very experienced in the items that they're selling. And so I really like this magician a lot. The next magician that I chose is from the Lubanco Tarot by E. Lubanco. And there's a lot that I like about this magician as well. I like that the magic itself is kind of depicted in this card as this kind of swirling, energetic currents of sorts. I like that the figure has many hands. Like they're able to bring together disparate kinds of energies into their working. I like that we see the kind of traditional tools here in some ways, a wand or staff. This is an overturned cup or goblet there. So I like that this is a deck, I think, that mixes some of the symbolism that one might expect to see, in a more traditional deck, but in a very unique way. This deck is, kind of fantastical, and I really I really, really like this. Like this magician feels, very passionate and, very adept at kind of manipulating energetic currents in their work. And it feels very, very bright, very fiery, this magician, which is a interesting take, I think. The next magician that I chose is the Heart and Hands Tarot, and this is my trimmed because it got wet copy of the Heart and Hands. This was indie when I bought it, but I think that this is now mass market. I like this magician because this magician feels like a stage magician, one who is going to be doing some sleight of hand. You can see here that the magician has cards up their sleeve as well as in their hand. They also have paint brushes and a paint palette there in their hand at the bottom, and then the paint brushes here. I think that the paint brushes are an interesting touch for a magician. I think you ever like watched someone create a painting? There's definitely magic to that. Uh, a type of magic that I find particularly impressive, given that I'm awful at I'm awful at any kind of visual arts, really, in my own mind anyway. Learning photography, but definitely, things like drawing and painting are not my skill set, and I find them very, very impressive. Um, I love art, like I think many of us tarot folks do. I like the stripy suit and top hat as a look for a magician. And this card being this kind of magician makes me think of, this distinction that gets drawn between this kind of stage magic and you could say ritual magic that has led some to spell magic in the latter sense with a K instead of just a C on the end. I'm resistant to this for a number of reasons, this kind of spelling, but part of that has to do with my resistance to a distinction between, the carnival and magical workings. Like the carnival is a place of magic to me, very much so. Um, one that I grew up with a lot of contact with. So I really like this magician as a kind of magic that you would find in a carnival space that doesn't get depicted in tarot too much, and so I like that that is there. The next magician I chose is from the Architect's Tarot by Yusuf Bushiri, and this one feels like opening a grove to me, or casting a circle, would be something akin to that. You can see here that there's a figure in the middle there, and on the four sides of this room, there are a cup, a wand, a sword, and a pentacle. And there are the four doors there. And so through the kind of door with the cup on it, you get a path through water. Down here through the door with the pentacle on it, you get this green hedge there. And so this one is one that is special to me because this reminds me very much in some ways of the sphere of protection ritual that we druids of the AODA perform, which involves acknowledging and connecting with elemental currents that are associated with different directions. Now, these don't like correspond to the direction and element correspondences that I specifically work with, but you know, thinking about the sphere of protection and what it does in terms of making this kind of energetic sphere around oneself or around one's home, this is like the closest to a visual representation of how I think about that and how I think about the gates, the Alban gates, which go in these different directions associated with the elements like that I've ever seen. I think that this is beautiful. Very contemporary, not at all a traditional magician depiction, but one that more than most, if not any other magician, most resembles something that I can think of from my own magical practice. So that is why I really like the Architect's Tarot magician. Finally, I have Le Tarot Ultraviolet magician card here. I really like the color scheme of this magician. I like the bright golden yellow with the green and the purple. I really like that this is a kind of herbalist magician, thinking about different kinds of magical workings and different ways of bringing together, different elements and different components into something that is creative and transformative. An herbalist figure, I think, makes complete sense for a magician. I really like that they have their mortar and pestle there and maybe a recipe book. This one feels very relatable to me with the herbs drying in the background. Really like this magician card. And again, there is hints of kind of traditional symbolism for the magician. There's the lemniscate there on the person's shirt. We have the sword, cup, pentacle, and wand there. Um, the magician is standing behind a table, which um, in a Marseille context, for example, that is what you would expect to see. So I like that there is that mix of traditional and contemporary creative representation in this magician as well. Now, I said I was going to stick to 5, and I didn't. So I also wanted to mention one, and I'll just put it up here in the screen. Another magician that I love that is a kind of kitchen magician with a cauldron that they're using for cooking is the magician in the Delta Enduring Tarot by Egan. This is a deck that is out of print, has been out of print for quite a while at this point. Um, there were talks for a while, I think, of perhaps a reprint. I really hope that happens because the deck is beautiful. And this magician I like, for similar reasons that I like the ultraviolet. This is a relatable contemporary magician that is, making a kind of magic in the kitchen that is a magic that brings people together, a magic that, sustains community and family. I like the lemniscate over the person's head in this image. I like, that they have their different tools there, and in this case, those tools, are a cauldron and a cooking knife, and there's the pans in the background. I like that you can see in this card outdoors, thinking about connections of magic to nature and the environment. So this is a magician that really speaks to me as well. And I wanted to include it, even though I don't actually have the card, to hold up, because I think that it is a really beautiful one. So those are my current favorite magician cards. I am really enjoying making these VRs. Thank you again to Masha for starting this tag, the tag that keeps on giving, it keeps on going throughout a year. I'm having lots of fun. I will see you in a couple of weeks, I would think, for favorite high priestesses. Until then, have a good one. See you soon. Bye.